(1864), you say? Sarva Guyatamam Bhuya Shinume Paramam Vacha Ishtosi Me Jidam Iti Tato Vakshyami Tehitam Sarvaguyatamam Bhuya Shinume Paramam Vacha Ishtosi Me Dridam Iti Tato Vakshyami Tehitam Sarvaguya Hitatamam, the most confidential of all. Bhuya, again. Shinu, just here. Me, from me. Paramam, the supreme. Vacha, instruction. Ishta asi, you are dear. Me, to me. Dridam, very. Iti, thus. Tata, therefore. Vakshyami, I am speaking. Te, for your. Hitam, benefit. Translation. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Repeat it. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it's for your benefit. Purport. The Lord has given Arjuna knowledge that is confidential, knowledge of Brahman, and still more confidential knowledge of the Supersoul within everyone's heart. Now he's giving the most confidential part of knowledge, just surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the end of the 9th chapter, he has said, Man manaha, always think of me. The same instruction is repeated here to stress the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad-Gita. The essence is not understood by a common man, but by one who is actually very dear to Krishna. This is the most important instruction of all Vedic literature. What Krishna is saying in this connection is the most essential part of knowledge, and it should be carried out not only by Arjuna, but all living entities. All right. So I feel it's an honor to speak to this crowd. I know a lot of you come every day, or maybe even for a few years you're coming, right? So it's special that people like to hear the Bhagavad-Gita every day. And we hope we can get more questions or more participation. So Krishna is saying, you're my friend. Where else does he say that? Anybody know? Must know. Huh?
Yeah, beginning of the 9th chapter. He said, because you're my friend and you're not envious.
Huh?
In the beginning of the 9th chapter, he says, because you're my friend and you're not envious.
Yeah. And another place? I think in the 4th chapter also, right? Because you're my friend as well as my devotee, I'm telling you that. So, but then he's so merciful that he's giving it to everybody now. You know, he somehow, he Vasudeva's incarnation, so he wrote everything down, and by Prabhupada's mercy, it's available for everyone, but not everyone can catch it, right? That it have to be the friend and devotee. You have to have some service. When there's service, then Krishna reveals himself, without service, there's no love, and without that, without devotion, you're not going to get anywhere with these books, But if people read them for any reason, they'll get curious and they'll start to appreciate them, and then they'll gradually want to do something. And by chanting, that's also service. So if we can help people chant, it's for their benefit. Hitam, Krishna's, for everybody. Hita karana, everything is for everybody, for the benefit of the whole world. He's speaking the Bhagavad-Gita. At that time, it was just Arjuna hearing it, and Sanjay, and Dhritarashtra. I'm thinking about how Dhritarashtra must have felt, towards the end, right? Because he started out like, he had seen so many inauspicious signs before. I don't remember all of them, but, there's so many inauspicious signs, and he was seeing all of them, or hearing all of them. Somebody was telling him about all of them. Then at the end, Sanjay says, this is so wonderful, and wherever there's Krishna and Arjuna, there'll be victory and all these things. So he was told, that it's no chance for your side. Everyone's going to be killed. So he kind of knew that, but I can't imagine how devastated he must have been after hearing the Bhagavad-Gita. Other people get enlivened, Krishna is victorious, and if we serve Krishna, everything comes out good. That's a fact, right? We've all experiencing that, And we hear this morning, we hear from Rohini Sutta especially the other day about reading the books, It's very important. Prabhupada, said, read my books. It's not just go to class. I just heard that devotees were talking about, that was Keshav Bharati Maharaj, the meeting Prabhupada in Atlanta that time, or San Francisco that time, and they were all book distributors. And in Atlanta, someone asked the question, and they were all the book distributors, the Radha Damodar Party and people like that. And what pleases you the most? And everybody thought he was going to say book distribution. He said, if you love Krishna. And sometimes he'd just say, are you reading my books? When he was in London that last time, and the German Sankirtan devotees come, and they'd just done a big marathon and distributed so many books, for Prabhupada. And when they came in to meet him, he just said, are you reading my books? Of course, he's happy that they're distributing them, but not only distributing them. We have to read them, and then we have to be able to talk about them and share them. So Bhagavad Gita is the essence. Everything is there. The next verse is the most famous, I guess, one of the most famous. Think of me. Right? How do you think of Krishna? Anybody know? Different way? Huh?
Start by chanting.
Chanting the holy name is one good way. Huh? Huh? I can't hear. Huh? Yeah, think about the Leela. Many different ways Prabhupada has given us. Read the books, because if you're reading the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, you're worshiping me by your intelligence. Intelligence is the most important, part of the body, right? But intelligence means more than, knowing how to program a computer or build a space shuttle or something. That's material intelligence. How to manipulate the material energy for sense gratification. But real intelligence means to discriminate between matter and spirit, to know what's favorable to Krishna, what's unfavorable, what's good for you and what's not good for you. At least twice in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that. How is it? They don't know what to do or what not to do. right? The demons. Anybody remember that one? Sanskrit? Anyway, the demons, they don't know what to do and they don't know what not to do. So they just do whatever they want. And they think, there's no reaction, you can do whatever you want. You only live once, so enjoy life as much as possible, or different reasons people think they don't have to control their life. Another place, Krishna says, those who know what they want to do and what they shouldn't do, they're in the mode of goodness. It's the same first line. So that's very important. And how do we learn that? See, Bhagavad-Gita is telling us very much, what is the mode of goodness, what is the mode of passion, what are the results, what is the mode of ignorance, what are the results, right? And then how to do these things in so many different ways. Charity, this is all in chapter 18, charity in the different modes, and thinking in the different modes, and austerity in the different modes, and, so many things, so that we can avoid the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion, also rise above that, so we can live in the mode of goodness. Then from the mode of goodness, we can come up to spiritual life. Of course, Prabhupada pulled us right out of, I don't know all of you, but, out of some very low life, but and by giving us the kirtan of the holy name and his purports, we can jump pretty quickly and at least try to avoid the mode of ignorance and passion. Although when we're doing service for Krishna, we should do it like passion people work, but it's not passion. Because passion really means the mode when we talk about in Bhagavad-Gita, for yourself. You want results, right? You want money, you want to do something to make you famous, you want results of sense gratification. But then now I'm hearing lately they use the word passion differently. Find your passion. You hear that? What does it mean?
But it's still about the self.
Huh?
It's still about the self.
Yeah, well, unless it's Krishna.
Yeah.
But what they mean by it is what you really like to do, It's your passion. So if we really like to chant, or we really like to distribute books, or we like to cook for Krishna, or clean the temple, or, help devotees, and that can be your passion, that's good. If you just think about it all the time and you love it, right? But it's not the mode of passion like when you're talking about where people just work so hard for sense gratification. If they don't get the result they're looking for, they become depressed, they become angry, and blame somebody else for why I didn't succeed. And if they get it, they party, and then it's all over, isn't it? Like gambling. You see people gambling. If they win, they go out and get drunk to party about it. And sometimes they spend all the money they won, and trying to show everybody how nice they are. And if they lose, they go out and get drunk too, because they're depressed. I've seen it. They come out from these gambling and they're, so that's sense gratification. It's the mode of passion. They're thinking they can get something for nothing, the gamblers, right? And it's advertised so much, Nowadays, when I was young in America, there was only Nevada had gambling, legalized gambling. Casinos, they had horse races and dog races and, people betting on the football game and stuff. But gradually, you see these casinos everywhere. They figured out all kinds of ways to put them in different places. Put them on a riverboat, go out in the ocean, the Indian reservations, the Indians who were educated realized they're not under the state law. They have their own laws. They're under federal law, but the gambling is under state law. So they built casinos on all the Indian reservations in America, and they're getting rich. One Indian reservation, one tribe, they bought the entire Hard Rock Cafe thing for $900 million or something, just on money from their casino. So, and now you find this gambling everywhere, and just more and more. In Germany, we went to a gas station. On the second floor was a casino. Yeah. So, Kali is hard at work, and trying to make people think they're happy, with all these sinful activities, and giving more and more facility for that. Same time, Lord Chaitanya's movement is giving more and more facility for getting out from all this, controlled by the mode of passion and mad after so many things, but, and gradually become mad after Krishna. That's the goal. We have a goal also. We want to, why are we chanting? Why are we reading? It pleases Prabhupada. But we don't read just to learn Bhagavad-Gita and get paid for reciting it or something. I hope, We read to associate with Krishna and Arjuna and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Who can you associate with there? Huh? Name some. Yeah. Sukadev. Huh? Prahlad. So many, right? Lord Shiva, he's one of the main speakers. Narada Muni. Ambarish Maharaj. Narada Muni probably has more talk in the Bhagavatam than anyone else. And of course, Sukadev Goswami is telling what he said, but he's featured so much. But Lord Shiva, there's all kinds of prayers and his instructions to different people. So it's amazing what you can. And Prabhupada, of course, is everywhere. Prabhupada, one place he says, Krishna's on every page. Krishna's on every word, every syllable. So, but Prabhupada is definitely there, and he put so much work. I just saw a quote from Socrates. You know him? Yeah? Who is he? Yeah, he's like the original one that's well known. There's others, I guess, before him, but Prabhupada said he was self-realized, because he was preaching about the soul to the young people, and the government didn't like it. So they put him in the jail. And they said they would kill him, by drinking poison if he didn't stop it. He said, they'll have to find me first. Even though he was in the jail. So I just read another quote. He said, read the works of other people because you'll get the benefit of all the work they did before they wrote the book, or something, You can learn so much. So then I say, read Prabhupada's books because he put so much into them. So much work. In Bhagavad-Gita, he was translating it when he was a pharmacist. And he wanted to print it. I don't know if he was finished, but he had a lot done. And he advertised in his Back to Godhead, for donations. And somebody in South India offered him a donation, so he went to get it. And when he came back, he couldn't find his manuscript anywhere. I think he said he suspected his son, but he could never prove anything. So he just started over again. And so he had everything ready when he got to America. He had many, many books ready. A devotee, I think Satsvarup or somebody, said, what can I do? And he pulled out a big stack of papers from the closet and said, you can type these, because he was first writing by hand. Then he got a typewriter in New York a couple times. Somebody got stolen. Somebody broke in his apartment and took his old typewriter. In his diary, sometimes he said, somebody gave me a typewriter, it doesn't work, or somebody gave me a tape recorder, it didn't work, you know. People were trying to help him, but they give him some old thing that they don't use anymore. That's what happens sometimes. So, but he just carried on in ecstasy, always in ecstasy. He didn't get depressed about, so-called failures. And if you think about it, it's Leela because, he's just, Krishna's guiding him at every step. Daivi Shakti said, during the 40th, she said, Prabhupada said, everything I say, Guna said that. So he said, everything I say is from the Super Soul. He's completely guided by Krishna. So all his things, all his previous so-called, previous life, when he had business, the business failed. When he talks about it, he says, he had an offer for a really, really good job with very high pay. And Prabhupada said, but I was so puffed up that I didn't take it. I wanted more money and I couldn't get as much as I wanted. He said I was too puffed up. He thought he's that's what he says. He's trying to teach us. He had his family, but the wife didn't go along with him. The children really never became devotees, especially the oldest son. And the youngest son was nice, but, he's not really a practicing devotee or anything. He became much more active after Prabhupada left because devotees like to hear him talk about Prabhupada. And the daughter was in and out, and the older son was suing the movement, saying that, as Prabhupada's son, everything belonged to him. You ever knew that? Yeah. I know that because I was Giri Maharaj's servant at the time, Giri Raj. We had to take it to the lawyers and stuff. He wrote an 80-page thing, the humble petition of Him Day, and one of his claims was that Prabhupada wasn't a sannyasi. He didn't take sannyas from his guru, and therefore, his family and the family should get it. Then he was saying how all of us are totally irresponsible and we shouldn't get it. And tried everything. He kept the devotees in court for years and years. Finally, he had to get a settlement, and he actually lost money on the deal. But, because Prabhupada had given the family some money in his will. So, anyway, but Prabhupada, he just carried on. Finally, he just left home. He tried to set them up in business, everything. They just wanted to be, live off him or something. So the wife she didn't ever attend. He had bhajans and katha in his house. The wife and children never came. But he didn't worry about it. But he was showing us, you can't depend on any of these things. That's what he wrote in that Vrindavan bhajan, You can't depend on the fallible soldiers or the family or anything like that. And then the so-called struggle, when he was first in America with not much response, to teach us, that it's not easy. I'm going to preach, don't expect an easy life, he said. You're not going to succeed at everything you try to do, but Krishna's happy when you make an effort. We heard Niranjan Swami in Mayapur on Prabhupada's disappearance, so he was really attached. He was traveling book distribution, but he was also a carpenter. He had helped fix up the whole temple, and they told the temple president, said, Prabhupada's coming, so you have to come and fix up the room, and finally he said, okay. And he showed him the room. He said, would you let your spiritual master live here? He said, well, no, I won't. So he worked really, really hard, a lot of work at tearing down walls and building doors and, fix it up really nice. And thinking Prabhupada's going to come and he's going to say, wow, this is great. Who did this? So it ended up Prabhupada something went, and he didn't come. So at first he was disappointed. Then he thought, well, he actually realized, that Prabhupada appreciates the effort. He felt really good just by the effort, even though he didn't get the result he was looking for. I don't know if Prabhupada ever came, and use that room, but so like that. All right. Do we have any questions today? Confidential questions? Can you excuse me a couple minutes though first? Is that right? I have to run this body, whole body. All right? Prabhupada sometimes had to do that also. So, I'll be I could ask how to be happy. The other day in Bhagavatam class, the speaker asked that question. Anybody was there? Huh? You remember? Yeah. Somebody said, don't be miserable. So how can you not be miserable? Okay, I won't be miserable. Of course, that's, if you have a good enough attitude, then even if you're being tortured, you can be happy because, you're thinking of Krishna. But in general, that's sukhi dukkhi. That's why, when Krishna talks about the dualities, mostly he says sukhi dukkhi every time. He says other things in different places. Sukhi dukkhi and hot and cold and basic. Because whatever we do within the mature world, the dualities, I want this, I don't want that, it's because we think we'll become happy. Right? Isn't it? So that's the basic duality. But spiritual is beyond that kind of happiness. That's just a relief from suffering. Right? Because how long can it last? More. Well, they say that pain or problems, everything is, you can't avoid that, but suffering is, you can avoid because it's an attitude thing. oh, I hate this, I don't like that, I wish I had that, and I'm suffering so much. And some people get so absorbed in it, then they get all these mental diseases, and then that makes them physically ill, and now that's so common. The mental disease is the most common disease now in this century. And some people predict that, within a few years, there'll be so much mental disease and it's causing other diseases because people are just so miserable. They don't live right then. So that's why we're trying very hard to give people the holy name, give people the Bhagavad-Gita. That's why Prabhupada made this temple and so many temples. Because you can go to other temples, and some are very beautiful, but there's nothing happening there. They don't have books, or maybe they have a few books, but they don't have some small temples they have a kirtan all the time, but mostly it's, but here they come and there's everything. Mayapur, Subhag Swami said here's people, they're going around and say, wow, everything is here, we don't need anything. Such a wonderful place, So they just hang around. But then they come to hear somebody speak, they go in the temple, there's always kirtan. So, and they see all these things, and devotees are everywhere selling books, and, and there's free prasadam, there's restaurants, there's so many things. Prabhupada, was really determined, and it all happened on time. Somebody asked Prabhupada in America, why didn't you come sooner? What did he say? Huh? Anybody remember? Huh? Huh? Yeah, he said you weren't ready. The Kali Yuga had to get people ready. So at the time he came was an ideal time, Just before that, in America, there was a #1 song for a while called Dancing in the Streets. Very popular. And they're singing, named all these cities, they're dancing in the street. And, people like that. Right? But nobody ever does that. Right? You ever seen anybody dancing in the street? A little bit. In China, you see people go out in the evening, a group of people, and they dance. They play some music and they dance. It's like their relaxation time. But generally, you don't see it, and they do it in the park or something. But a couple years later, there was all over America people dancing in the streets. It was a prediction. Devotees were out sometimes, so many hours a day in those beginning time. In LA, they were out like 8 or 9 hours. And they would go out in the afternoon and chant for a few hours in the town, and then they would go back for prasadam in the evening artik, and then they go out again to Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset Boulevard, be out till midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, Till Prabhupada finally started Mangal Artik and then stopped that. But and people joined, they would go outside that play Hair. Ever seen that one? Hare Krishna, and then something else, So they would come out, and there's this big group of blissful devotees chanting Vishnu Jan and everybody. And they joined, and they just joined the kirtan. They thought it was part of the play, And a few devotees, they went back to the temple, they woke up, shaved head, they didn't know what happened. And they're still around. So it's just, Prabhupada just, he took Lord Chaitanya's will, he took, Rupa Goswami's will. Rupa Goswami knew the mind of Lord Chaitanya. And Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam, right? So I am Rupa Kadamayam. He knew the mind of Lord Chaitanya. And so Prabhupada, strict follower, completely following the standard Siddhanta, never changing anything. And, the external show is a little different. public kirtans were from Lord Chaitanya's time were always there. Lord Chaitanya himself went all the time. Prabhupada went by himself in the very beginning. He went not by himself, he went with the devotees. In the Kumbh Mela, Prabhupada would go every day all around chanting. And sometimes he would lead the kirtan, sometimes Jamuna, sometimes Hansadutta. They said Prabhupada would go out, walk around and chant the holy name, and encourage the devotees and, benedict everybody. Gradually, so many devotees going out, and Prabhupada was more absorbed in, writing his books and taking care of all the temples and all the letters and all the different things that were going on, and traveling so much. But, he was teaching us by his example that he struggled for Krishna, and Krishna likes that. Somebody was asking in one class, 'cause I said that Lord Chaitanya and Gadadhar Pandit, they would read Bhagavatam every day. And it says that they especially like to read Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad. So somebody was asking, why is that? I asked. But Prabhupada, I don't know, they say that Krishna appreciates the devotee has to struggle for, his service and for his faith. Like in Vaikuntha, they never have to worry about anything. But he appreciates these devotees who are, in the material world, and they have to conquer over all these things, and they, especially if they're preaching. So Krishna says in the end of the Bhagavad-Gita that, there'll be never anyone more dear to me than someone who's teaching Bhagavad-Gita to the devotees. And like Prabhupada just considered everybody a devotee. Krishna is saying, don't teach to envious people, or people are not a devotee, or this and that. But Prabhupada gave it to everyone. He pushed everybody, print more, get them out everywhere. He's more merciful. But it's Lord Chaitanya's order, it's Krishna's order, Everyone should hear Bhagavad-Gita. If we can't, it's very hard to get a crowd to listen to you, even one person, But if we can give books, then, Prabhupada will preach it. If we just learn how to, be very enthusiastic, if you read the book enough, we'll like it so much, and then people will be attracted, and they'll want to read it. And then they'll be getting Prabhupada's preaching, and then we see the results all over the world. Okay, any question now? Yes, sir?
I just looking at the verse where the relationship between Arjuna and Krishna is one of a very dear friend.
Yeah.
I was wondering how our relationship with Guru and Krishna is based on being a servant. And this has raised questions in my mind. Maybe we can discuss it.
Well, some devotees have a much more close relationship with the Guru. Friendship includes service, of course. But, yeah, and we can judge, our relationship with Krishna by our relationship with the Guru, if we're dedicated, if we want to serve, if we're happy to see him happy and all these things. And then we can judge that, by our relationship with other devotees. Because the Guru is very concerned about all the other devotees. So, if we have really good relationship with the devotees, then it's also with the Guru, because everybody's connected. It's also with Krishna. Krishna's in everyone's heart, and, how can we serve Krishna? By serving devotees, he's happier than if we're serving him directly, trying to serve him directly. So the gopis, they just pray for a chance to do a little tiny bit of service, but they don't want to get directly with Krishna. They just want to help the other, the ones that are close to Krishna. But I just was reading Radharani would push gopis to, go do some service for Krishna. her friends' gopis. He had also competition gopis, but that's another mystery. But so of course we're mainly servants, but we can be friendly servants, right?
No, to me, friendship,
Huh?
to me, a friend, a relationship in friendship is more equality about it than master and servant. You know, I think it's a very, I'm wondering whether it's a very unique relationship between Arjuna and Krishna.
Yeah, and he's a very dear friend, not just an ordinary friend. See, what is a friend? Someone who really cares about you, you really care about them. So like they say in marriage, you know, husband and wife have to become friends, otherwise the marriage won't last, right? Anybody here married? You know, if they just aren't friends, but sometimes the wife is serving the husband, sometimes the husband is serving the wife. Prabhupada considered himself the servant of all of us. He said that the guru considers his disciples his master. But, you know, Krishna gave me the position to be their teacher, so I have to do that as a service. But he would say, I'm learning so much from all my disciples. I personally heard that in one class. It was quite amazing. It was in Los Angeles, and Prabhupada was speaking, and then he said, Krishna has given me so many gurus. And I was like, what? You know, and Prabhupada was silent for, it seemed like forever, and then he said, my disciples. That's the way the guru sees everybody. You know, he's a servant of everybody. He was speaking in university in Sweden and about Varnashram in the fourth class there, you know. And somebody said, well, I see you were first class. I think he was sarcastic. Probably said, I am 10th class. He said, I am the servant of everyone, you know. So we're trying to please the guru in such a way. And so a friend can have to serve sometimes also, right? But both. Prabhupada always considered he was serving everybody by teaching, his service. He looked, you know, up to everybody, and he was enlivened to see anybody chanting. He's very, very happy to see anyone want to come to talk to him and hear about Krishna. He's very, very happy and thanking Krishna that this soul wants to, you know, wants to hear about Krishna. Is that all right? Makes sense? Anybody? Something else?
Is also in Raghunath Das Goswami in Manasiksha, he actually says that the guru should be the dearmost friend in one of the first verses.
Yeah, because he loves you the most, and he's thinking only of your welfare all the time. So that's a friend.
It's something to meditate on. I'm still meditating on it as well.
And then you should think of him as your friend, that you want to just please him, and, you know.
I mean, if a friend asks you to do something, you just do it without question.
Yeah. So that's like book distribution. You know, if you become friendly with someone first, you know, somehow you know how to make friends quick. You know, devotees do that. You talk about or listen to them or something, and then when you say, well, give a donation, oh, sure. You know, it's my friend. Even though they just met you and you came out of nowhere, and, you know, but you pull them into the, you know, the Vaikuntha bubble. And, you know, it's very rare that somebody comes up to talk to you on the street and is completely friendly and interested in you and nobody else. And, you know, so people get enlivened. They get, so this is my friend. So, you know, that, so like that. It's reciprocal. Friendship includes service. It's not just a master and servant, you know. You can inquire submissively, that's friendly, right? It's not just that Prabhupada just saying, you go do this, you wait for 10 hours outside my door, you go wash the car, and he did, wasn't like that. Not that kind of master. And that's the spiritual masters like that also. So, and some you see very friendly with certain, not every disciple closely friendly all the time, but sometimes they have their companion, it's always with them, they're friendly. All right? Any question further? Hare Krishna. Any question? No? You satisfied? You know everything? That means you accept everything, you believe it, or you just time for eating or time for something? So.
It was very nice to hear your.
Huh?
It was very nice to hear your relationship with Prabhupada. Thank you very much.
Yeah, everybody likes to hear about Prabhupada. Prabhupada had friends like this Bhagavad-Gita here in Vrindavan. He said, he's my friend. He didn't think of him as his disciple, but they were good friends. And many others he considered friends. Anyone else? Inquiring? I'm happy to answer anything. All right, thank you very much for coming regularly. And it's very good to see. Prabhupada was one morning in Los Angeles. It was Sunday morning, so sometimes not as many devotees were there as other mornings. And Prabhupada said, you think you don't have any love for Krishna, but you're coming every day to the Bhagavatam classes, and I never have anything new to say. I say the same thing over and over again. Surrender to Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, He said it's never new, it's always the same thing. But you're coming every day. It's because you love Krishna. So he encouraged us very much to attend class every day, especially the Bhagavatam class. But Bhagavad-Gita class, in the early days, every temple had an evening Bhagavad-Gita class also. But then book distribution really caught on, and people were staying out later and all kinds of things. It's not such a big program anymore as it used to be. But it's still going on. It's going on here. You have to thank Mother Parvati for keeping this going. Many, many years she's organized this and make sure to find speakers, and she's very good to do that. Very good thing she's doing. So we have to be grateful to, every devotee and reciprocate, So we reciprocate with the Guru by, taking his instructions and following them and being happy, chanting the holy name, reading the books. Especially Prabhupada, very happy to see people reading his book. Especially pleasing it. I know myself, if somebody asks me, what makes you really happy, your disciples, when I see that they're chanting really serious japa, I become very happy. And of course, if they're reading, and some I know every day they're reading, and then they go out and distribute books all day, and have their deities at home and everything, chanting very serious japa. So, that's very pleasing. It gives us an intimate connection with Krishna, because Krishna is always in the center of everything. Nothing will hold without Krishna in the center. Jai. Bhagavad-Gita ki jai.